Alright YouTube, what's up? I'm Justin. This is our second video. I'm going through my CD collection. I want to thank everybody who watched the first video. Got a lot of feedback and comments and messages, and Ben gave me a pretty good shout out, so I appreciate that. I really enjoy doing this, and I hope you guys like watching this and me talk a bunch of trash about CDs. So here we go. We're going to get into it. We're still doing, I'm trying to do A to Z of all my CDs, and I made it about a third away into the A's last time, and it took me half an hour. I've got a good little stack here, but I'm going to try to get through quicker so it's not as long of a video. So let's go. Okay, so first up is one of my absolute favorite bands of all time, and I've been a fan of this band for pretty much when they had their very first album came out. I picked it up, and I liked them for a decade before they really got popular. And I've gotten a lot of flack from some buddies of mine who are real black metal purists, and they call this girlfriend metal and wife metal and fake black metal and all everything above, but I think they're fucking amazing. So it's Agalloch, or for years I said Agalic, and then I saw them for the first time and they said, hey, we're Agalloch, and all the wind left my sails because I'd been wrong for 10 years. So Agalloch is from the Pacific Northwest, and they kind of spearheaded that whole scene, that sound. They're not a black metal band. I hate the term Cascadian black metal. I think it's stupid. I don't listen to any of that shit, but Agalloch is just kind of a folky, atmospheric metal band. There's so many different elements. They have had such a unique sound. Everything about them was different. I read about them in Metal Maniacs, probably 1998, 99, and there was that picture of the deer skull, and that's a picture of Jason Walton, the bass player. I saw that picture, and it intrigued me, and I read about it, and it sounded interesting. And then one day in Tallahassee, Florida, which I mentioned a couple times in the last video, I picked this up used at the CD exchange. This is Pale Folklore, their first full-length album, and it set the tone and kind of set the standard for everything to come. I also have The Mantle, which was their second album. The Mantle this is probably my top 10 favorite albums of all time. It evokes an emotion and a feeling and an atmosphere that no other album does. I can put this on and it takes me right back to where I was the first time I heard it. It's a really special album to me. I know it forward and backwards. Every little note and nuance and lyric and layer of this record I have learned over time. I'm missing their third album. I don't own it. I like it, but I don't think it held a candle to The Mantle. It was a lot shorter. It was 9 or 10 tracks, and 3 of them were ambient tracks, and I just felt like it wasn't the same. I don't have the next one on CD. I have it on vinyl. And then this was their last full length, The Serpent and the Sphere, and I like this one probably the best up against The Mantle. They went out on a high note. They broke up after this came out. They had a pretty public falling out with one of the main members of the band, pretty much kicked everybody else out and said he was going to take over, and then that never happened. He never did anything. He started a new band. I have a couple of other releases of theirs. This is White Division Grey. It's some B-sides and rare stuff. It's a double CD. It's got a nice book built in. It's a digibook. It's a really nice release that I think they self-released. And they have an EP here called Faustian Echoes, which is one 20-minute song. Agalloch existed for a long time before they ever played a show, and then they sporadically played shows in the early 2000s before they turned into a touring band for several years. And I got to see them a handful of times here in Atlanta. Something very interesting, I got a Facebook message from their drummer, Aesop Decker, one day, saying that he really liked my band. He wanted to get a t-shirt from me. And I was just dumbfounded that the drummer of one of my absolute favorite bands of all time liked my band. And we became pretty good buddies, and we've hung out before. I've been to California where he lives, and we spent a day record shopping, and that was a lot of fun. I've since befriended Jason Walton, and we talk on Facebook a good bit, and we've traded some stuff and bought each other's releases. And he's in another band called Self Spiller, and he asked me to contribute to a remix project he had, where I got to remix one of the songs on the Self Spiller record, and you can find that on his Bandcamp if you search for it. So, Oglog, they're amazing. Next, we have 4 CDs from Agathocles. I don't know much about Agathocles. This set is 4 separate releases. It's 4 CDs, but it's called the Mincecore History, and it covers a lot of the band's output from 1985 to the late 90s, I guess. Agathocles is a grind band. They call what they do Mincecore as opposed to grindcore. I've listened to all of these a couple of times. It's your standard really fast grindcore songs. If you look on Mincecore History, 96 to 97, there's 47 tracks there. So you kind of know what you're getting into with Agathocles. Self-Made God Records put all 4 of these out, and one of my bands is on Self-Made God, and he sent these to me as a gift, more or less, and I enjoy them. When I'm in the mood for this kind of stuff, I really like listening to these guys. So they have hundreds of releases. Next is going to be Agoraphobic Nosebleed with Agorapocalypse, which is an amazing title. I'm not a big fan of this. I got hip to Agoraphobic Nosebleed when they did a split with Converge many years ago. Of course, I bought it for the Converge side. But I like the Agoraphobic Nosebleed side a lot. And this CD, a band I'm in, we used to be on Relapse Records. And my contact at the label sent me, when we signed to the label, he sent me a box of CDs, like a 30 box of CDs. For those of you who don't know, that when you have a CD pressed and they come from the pressing plant, pretty much any pressing plant, they come in boxes of 30. And he sent me a 30 box of 30 random Relapse titles. And this was one of them. And I've listened to it a couple of times. I'm not sure where it falls in their discography. But most of you probably know who Agoraphobic Nosebleed are and what they sound like. Next is Completely Not Metal. This is a compilation called After Dark Part 2. This is a compilation made up of artists on the label called Italians Do It Better. Italians Do It Better is a label that releases dark synth music, kind of dark pop music, stuff like Chromatics and Crystal Castles and Glass Candy. So, not metal at all, but all of the music on this has a really dark atmosphere and late night driving music. If you've seen the movie Drive, everything on here sounds like the way that movie feels. But this is good mood music. And we'll touch some more on some other stuff on this label later on. Next we have Akercock with Antichrist. I like this band. I liked them when they first came out. Their first record's really good. I got this one in the notorious giant trade I was talking about. But I've not listened to this one much. It was their last album before they broke up. And when I got this, I wasn't really interested in listening to Akercock at the time. Until last year, my band, we played at MDF. And we played the same night as these guys and got to watch them. We watched them from on the side of the stage. And they were newly reformed last year. And I thought they were fucking amazing. But they played one song And the only reason I know that song is because he said, "This is so and so song." I can't remember the name now, and it was really fucking bad. It was almost had like a dance breakdown in it, and it turned me off. But that song is on this album. I can't remember the name of it, but I'll have to throw it in and check it out. But they have a brand new album that I hear is supposed to be really, really good, so I'm going to check it out soon. Okay, so I spent a few minutes in the last video talking trash about Acid Witch, and that's all fine and dandy. Everybody has an opinion, but that, I can do that, but I'm also the guy who owns the Alien Ant Farm CD. And all I'm going to say is that, yes, I spent my money on this. I bought it whenever it came out 1,000 years ago. Is there a year on here? No, it doesn't say. But I got hoodwinked by that Michael Jackson cover. That's all I'm going to say. I don't listen to that. More non-metal. We have Alkaline Trio. So, Alkaline Trio is a punk rock band from Chicago, Illinois originally. And I think they're absolutely amazing. In the early 2000s, I worked in retail at a store, and we used to listen to their album From Here to Infirmary all the time. A friend of mine had it on CD, and it's an amazing album. I don't have that CD for some reason, and I really grew to like this band. They're a melodic punk rock band with a really kind of dark edge to them, lots of gallows humor in their lyrics, and one day I came into work, and Alkaline Trio was playing, but I didn't recognize it. I said, "What is this?" And my boss said, "What's the brand new album called Good Morning?" Well, I went out on my lunch break that day and bought it, and I absolutely love it. I mean, this thing is probably 14 or 15 years old now. Came out in 2003, so it's 15 years old this year. In my opinion, this is the best thing they ever did. I own it on vinyl as well. But I absolutely love this band, and they've stumbled. They've had a couple of records that I didn't care for. Crimson followed From Here to Infirmary, and it's equally just amazing. And then God Damn It and the Self-Titled are earlier. They have a couple of other earlier records that I don't own, and they've done many past Crimson and Good Morning. A couple I have, a couple I've skipped, but they put out a record in 2015. The name is escaping me. I own it. I think it's in my wife's car, so I don't have it right here. But it's probably the best thing they've done in 10 years. So, next is AMSG, Ad Majorem Satanagorium. This is a Canadian band. This came out on Profound Gore. It's a black metal record, Anti-Cosmic Tyranny. I got pretty excited when this came out, and I bought it. It's got some tenured black metal musicians in it. This record did not sink in the way I expected it to when I got it. I bought it unheard. I said, I'm just going to take a chance and buy this. I saw a lot of people talking about it. There were some production issues I wasn't crazy about on this record. There's a part on one of the songs where you can hear the pick hitting the strings, meaning that the microphone was picking up the guitar pick louder than it was picking up the guitar amplifier being mic'd. And I've done that before. I've noticed that in stuff I've recorded. The production is what got me on this one. And they have a record since this one that I haven't listened to, but I need to check it out. So I've seen a lot of people whose opinions I trust really like this band. Next, we have a kind of a classic, Amorphous, Tales from the Thousand Lakes. This is the only Amorphous CD I own, and it's my only real judge of Amorphous. This came out on Relapse, of course, in the mid-90s. And Amorphous was one of those bands that played, kind of dreary, doomy death metal before morphing into something completely different. And this record, I think this is their second record, someone correct me, came out after the Carillion Isthmus. it's kind of that change where it gets a little more pagan-y sounding. But I listen for this from time to time, but I don't listen to it enough to really know it. I think I'm going to put this one aside and put it in my next stack in the car. Next, we have Amputator. Amputator is more of a war metal band from here in the States. This is the only CD I own, but I have probably 10 of their cassette tapes. Really like Amputator, really extremely violent shit. You got to have a really tenured ear to listen to this kind of stuff because it's wild. If you just throw this on and you don't understand what you're listening to, it's just going to sound like static. But it's just violent, barbaric, pounding black metal. They broke up. I think they're back together. One of the members of this band I've known online for a long time. My band played in Tampa, Florida a couple years ago, and that's where he lives now. And he came out to the show and we got to hang out, and it was a lot of fun. But I fucking love Amputator. So next is Anal Blast, or Anal of Blast on this record, Vaginal Vampire. Anal Blast was a brutal death metal band with absolutely the nastiest, sickest, perverted lyrics you'll ever hear next to Lividity. And Vaginal Vampire is their full length. That Don Decker was the singer of this band, and he passed away a few years ago, and he was just kind of this large, nasty, disgusting human being, and it came through on his music. But this is just some of the nastiest, foulest, fucking wretched death metal ever put out. It's full of blasting and breakdowns and pig squeals and guttural vocals, and Anal Blast is just fucking sick. And then next we have Angel Corpse, Death Dragons of the Apocalypse. This is a live CD, and this is a kind of a homemade version of it. A demo version, have you will. I bought this from Gene, from Angel Corpse himself. Angel Corpse is one of my absolutely favorite bands ever when it comes to death metal. This is the only CD I own from them, but I have everything else they've ever done on vinyl. And I have their first demo tape in my tape collection over there. But Angel Corpse is just, you probably know them. They're just fast, riffy, nasty, violent death black metal from here in the States, with really good thought-provoking lyrics, and lyrics that they paint a picture of what Pete Helmkamp's singing about. Had the opportunity to see these guys a couple of times when they were around. I saw them on their reunion last year. We played with them in MDF. Got to talk to Pete Helmkamp a little bit. Gene I've known personally for many more years. Funny story, I got a phone call one day from a random number, and I answered, and it was Gene Palabicki from Angel Corpse. And he said, hey, this is Gene. I got your number from so-and-so. I really like your band. Let's try to get together and play some shows. And that was with his band Perdition Temple. And since then, we've stayed in touch. My band and his band, we've played shows together several times. Hope to more in the future. But Angel Corpse is just unfucking touchable. Okay, last two CDs for this round. So the first one is Anima Morte, which is a dark ambient instrumental synth type project that plays stuff reminiscent of like Goblin or horror movie soundtrack music. This came out on Deadbeat Media, which was a little subsidiary sister label to Razorback Records. To the best of my knowledge, this is the only thing they ever put out. But I like this stuff. It's really good. Throwback to that style of horror movie music. This one's called Face the Sea of Darkness, which is a reference to the Fulci movie, The Beyond. This record is called Amor e Morte, and I saw it in a trade list, and I put it on my trade thinking it was the same band, but it's not. And I realized that once I got it. And you see the cover, it's a girl with elf ears, and it's called About These Thornless Wilds, which is not proper English. So when I figured out that it's not Anima Morte, I never even fucking opened the thing. So, from the looks of it, it's probably some kind of shitty, you know, gothy black metal. That's wishful thinking. I don't know. Maybe I'll open it up when I come across it again. So we'll see. Anyway, that's it for now. We'll have some more coming up soon. We're halfway through the A section now. Well, a little more than halfway through the A section. If you want to talk about these records, get in the comments and we'll talk about them. This wasn't a very exciting stack other than a couple things that are really, really special to me. I didn't put on any background music today. I forgot. I'm kind of in a hurry doing this. But we're going to have some more coming up real soon. So check us out. Thanks.